A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke.
Glory to you, Lord.
Jesus told his disciples a parable. Can a blind person guide a blind person? Will not both fall into a pit? No disciple is superior to the teacher, but when fully trained, every disciple will be like his teacher. Why do you notice the splinter in your brother's eye, but do not perceive the wooden beam in your own? How can you say to your brother, "Brother, let me remove that splinter in your eye," when you do not even notice the wooden beam in your own eye? You hypocrite, remove the wooden beam from your eye first, then you will see clearly to remove the splinter in your brother's eye. A good tree does not bear rotten fruit, nor does a rotten tree bear good fruit. For every tree is known by its own fruit. For people do not pick figs from thorn bushes, nor do they gather grapes from brambles. A good person out of the store of goodness in his heart produces good, but an evil person out of the store of evil produces evil. For from the fullness of the heart, the mouth speaks. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
From the fullness of the heart, the mouth speaks. The words of Jesus in the Gospel today bring to mind the importance of our speech. What we say matters. It reflects what's going on in our heart. That's why the book of Sirach also follows on the same theme. And it says, place no one before he speaks, for it is then that people are tested. Our speech is important. And as we look on this 8th Sunday of Ordinary Time, we also look into the 8th commandment of the Decalogue, of the law of God, that I invite you to reflect with me today. We don't look to the commandments much, but we just finished our series on the commandments. And when I glanced to the readings today, I said I had to talk about the 8th commandment, which says, you shall not bear a false witness against your neighbor. It's one of the ones that we break the most, especially because our culture, the culture of super fast information, social media, media in general, fake news and whatever you want to call them, are just basically constantly bearing false witness against neighbors, destroying communities, and sometimes with our tongue we destroy our own families and our own unions and our own relationships. It's one of the cancers that tarnishes trust in our communities, and it's something that most people struggle with on an everyday basis. It is tasty to speak about others. It has a texture to it, especially when some things are true about them. But everyone has a right to the truth. The 8th commandment forbids misrepresenting the truth in our relations with others. That's from the Catechism. Misrepresenting the truth. The truth is Jesus Christ. He is the truth. But when we take truths and then we take some things that are true and put them in a different context, basically we raise false witness against someone. Bottom line, we don't know the whole story. We may hear this happened or this person did this or that, but we do not know the whole story. Especially we don't know the people well. Recently, in the news, if you remember, after the March for Life, there was a group of students from Covington High School from Kentucky that were visiting for the March for Life in the Lincoln Memorial. And a slide of the news, a 20-second video, came out and showed this young man in what it seems to be a confrontation between the young man and a Native American. And the news just, Twitter, social media, went with a narrative. It's already made, attributing all kinds of things to these kids. And in a 20-second video. Later on, and the interesting thing is for me was to see even leaders and bishops immediately within 2 hours, the Bishop of Covington had already put up a statement. And giving this, and then what you do, you destroy someone's reputation. You call them racist, you're doing this, and you jump into it, and the media jump into it, and we all jump into it. People just get obsessed with it. And people who are just there for a trip, they get cut into it. What happens is that now investigations go up, and then the Bishop of Covington had to retract and apologize. See? And then something very interesting the bishop said, he said, one should never be bullied to give statements. I thought it's a good thing because I think bishops get trapped in that 24-hour cycle of news. Bishops get trapped. I think that I'm not a bishop, maybe that's why I don't get trapped. But bishops get trapped. Something happens and they feel they gotta respond right away. Wait until all the facts are out, until the jury's out, until the jury comes back and condemns, then you say something. You should not just say something because you're speaking on behalf of the Roman Catholic Church. The bishops have a responsibility. They should not feel pressure to put up a statement. No one is voting for them. So I think bishops should restrain, and maybe some bishop will watch this video and tell me, that guaranteed I'll never make it to the club. But one has to think about it, pray about it. But the culture is such that people want to look for sound bites to fit a narrative. The narrative is already done. You have two ideologies, left and right. Now they just want the facts, they say. But it's only your facts to take it out of context in order to support your narrative. Reminds me of some lazy students in college. What was a lazy student in college? When I learned to do research for papers, you have to go into the library, do note cards, and spend hours. I don't know if you know what a note card is. But you have to do these things, and each note card had a citation. You have to go and read, and then you compile them, and it's like constructing a building, to put a paper together. You have to do research, and then 3 weeks later you make it to type. That way you're concluding with the research. Now people write the articles, and they just look for sound bites to fill in the quotations. I have reporters call sometimes. I'm not famous. My last name is Aguirre, which starts with an A, so I'm one of the first priests on the list. So when something Catholic happens in some place, the local news want to make a local connection to it, so a reporter calls the local priest. Now, I don't know anything about that, but they call because they want to know what does that have to do. What is your statement, Father? I don't have a statement. I don't know what you're talking about. You like to give a donation. Because you have to wait until later when things are sorted out. So that's important. Now, we see that in the social media, we see in the raw media, and the information superhighway, how things are moving fast. But you know, the same culture is fed by exactly the same thing happening in every house, in every relationship, in ourselves. The eighth commandment is the one that breaks the most. We tend to, by nature, towards the truth. We are obliged to honor and bear witness to the truth. It is in accordance with that dignity that all of us, because we are persons, are both impelled by the nature and bound by a moral obligation to always seek the truth, especially religious truth. We are also bound to adhere to the truth once we come to know it and direct our whole lives in accordance to the demands of the truth. Anything that is not truth should stay out of our lips, because it shows what's going on inside. If we do not know the whole truth, why share a portion of it? One thing that encompasses the eighth commandment is the sin of detraction. It's one of the most dangerous sins, because detraction means that you're going to share the truth partially. You know how they say that half-truths are the worst lies? Because what happens in detraction is that there is some truth to it, but then you fill in the gaps with baloney, with your perception of the events, with your perception of the reality, and then you cast judgment on someone else unjustly, and you can destroy someone's reputation. So-and-so said this. I heard that so-and-so, this happened. We don't know the whole thing. We don't have no right to infringe in someone else's privacy and assume things and be part of it. Now we may say, well, we're just venting. It's a bad habit. Gossip is a bad habit. Pope Francis has dedicated many catechisms about that. Precisely because it's something that eats the community from within. Builds distrust between people. Why? Because gossip is half-truths. We don't know the whole thing. We're just disseminating this and changing people's opinion on it. We're bearing false witness against our neighbor in a very simple way. The truth is, my brothers and sisters, is that we have no reason to judge the acts of another unless we know exactly what's going on. Fraternal correction is what Jesus taught us, which is the way to do it. You speak with that person first. If someone sins against you, Jesus says, go and meet with that person in private first, because you want to protect and give them the benefit of the doubt that they're doing good. Maybe the intention was different. Please speak with that person first, one-on-one. And then, if the person doesn't listen, then you bring a witness. And then you bring 2 or 3 witnesses. And then you bring it to the church. And then you bring it to the public. But there is a process that Jesus puts precisely to protect the right to privacy and the right to a good reputation before we start disseminating things that we don't know about. But we're all guilty of it. It's one of the hardest things. But it tells us who we are. When we speak ill of others, it tells the others who we are. We speak ill against ourselves. It tells us, listen carefully. I'll give an example. If you're talking to friends or people that you know, acquaintances, and they're always talking bad about others, they will do the same when you're not around. They will do the same when you're... Choose your friends wisely. Choose your friends wisely. If you are partaking at lunch or dinner, and you have someone for lunch or dinner with gossip, you know what I mean? You eat them up. The moment you stand out from that table, they'll have you for dessert. So be careful you eating out. People are tricky. Social media is social media. Do not post private things in it. If you don't want them out there. because it's dangerous. When I meet people, especially when they're going to become volunteers, not my volunteers, no, I look your name up. I look at your Facebook page, if you have one, unless you block me. But then I can ask a friend to look you up. Because if you're going to represent the church, I want to see what's there. Same thing is like we gotta keep guard in the culture that we have, that not everything that comes to the stream or to the news feed is true. We have to see that all these things have been edited and targeted for a particular reason. It's not the truth as it is represented. Men, says St. Thomas Aquinas, could not live with one another if there were not mutual confidences that they were being truthful to one another. Is based on the foundation that we will be true. Our worry should not be what other people are doing, whether they're truthful to us. It's whether we are truthful to others. Are we honest? Are we people of character? Do we show who we are to others, or are we concealing ourselves constantly? That is the heart of the matter, is whether part of us is in truth working to build communities based on trust. Among those communities based on trust, I think one of the most important those is that one of marriage. And I'm turning because I know Dick and Lynn was celebrating the 60th anniversary today, 60 years of trust. 60 years. You know, in marriage, you have to be, in the vows of marriage, people say to each other, I promise to be true to you, or I promise to be faithful to you. What that means is that I promise to be where I am, so that you do not get a surprise later on. You know, because people, when they enter into marriage, if they're keeping secrets, it's not going to work, and you know. Every married, after being married a few years, I ask any couple, what keeps you together is truthfulness. You have to come clean. You have to tell the other person what your flaws are, so the person knows, and that binds the marriage together. Never speak ill about your spouse to others. Always speak to each other about it, because you don't want to defame them. Many people made that mistake, and I've seen that it leads all the way to divorce, just because they go venting with their friends about their husband or wives. And it feeds. It turns into a cancer inside the relationship. If you need help, look for real help. Talk to a priest. Talk to a counselor. But do not badmouth your spouse. Same thing with friends. Do not badmouth them. Otherwise, you will destroy the friendship. Talk to your friend in person, acknowledge as being somebody else. Keep the relationships in the bond of trust and charity, so that they can easily be healed. It is easier to heal a relationship with the differences between two people. To heal them because it's only just, I'm sorry, I forgive you. And that's it. If you told everybody about it, I'm sorry, I forgive you, that's it. Then you look and you gotta tell 300 people about that. So, it's dangerous. The Blessed Virgin Mary, she sang the praises of the Lord. Always. She spoke very little in the Gospels. When she spoke, she said, my soul glorifies in the Lord. So when she spoke the word of God. Let us follow her example and speak little about others, but speak a lot about God. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit.